This is the Pixel Watch, and this is a very special product because this is Google's very first smartwatch. And like, we've been making concepts on this thing for the past 3 years or so I'm honestly very excited to actually try this out and see how it compares to my Apple Watch. Taking a quick look at the box, we have the Pixel Watch on the front. This is the LTE model, by the way, that Google shipped. And as you can probably tell, this also has Fitbit integration. Lift up the top, and whoa, this thing is tiny. Wow, there we go, Pixel Watch. So let's see what else we get inside the box. So you have your instruction manual, which is actually quite detailed, to be honest, for what is essentially a very simple product. The warranty and safety guide. And then we also get a couple of more things inside of this watch enclosure. So we have a band. So this is a replacement band, a larger size, I believe, for the sports strap. And then we also get the charger itself, which is very similar to the one on the Apple Watch, USB Type-C cable and a really cute Google logo. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, taking a closer look at the watch itself, I gotta say, first impressions are that it looks so nice. It looks very premium. It is quite small, like I said, so this is how it looks compared to my 45mm Apple Watch. So yeah, it is very tiny, but to be honest, I really love the way it looks. So this is the silver stainless steel. Google also sells models in gold and black. Sadly, they haven't sent the black one over, but this one looks really nice. So here's the thing. I've been an Apple Watch user since the very first one. I've used an Apple Watch since 2015 every single day. And over the weekend, I have been using Google's Pixel Watch as well. Harry from my team, who's a big Android smartwatch fan, and he's used plenty of smartwatches over the years, he has tested it too. And we found a couple of interesting discoveries that I want to mention in this video. And I want to start off with the design. I really like the design of the Pixel Watch. I think that this is the best looking smartwatch that you can buy right now. In a way, it kind of looks similar to the Recent Type 3, which is an oil watch. That looks even sicker, but that is not a smartwatch. And it does also resemble the ZEP-E that we were using as a placeholder for our Pixel Watch videos. Although the ZEP-E has a more flat display, whereas the Pixel Watch actually curves all the way to the body. Also, the bezels are indeed pretty thick, but you don't really see them in most cases, just because most of the content on your screen will be black instead of white, so everything blends in perfectly. And I also really like the feel of the buttons, more specifically the crown, which is very clicky. Not so much in terms of the side button, which is a bit more flush with the body of the watch. But yeah, overall, I think it looks amazing, and I can only imagine how awesome this thing looks in the black variant. We unfortunately only have the stainless steel and silver here. The next thing that I want to talk about is the display. So coming from my 45mm Apple Watch Series 7, the Pixel Watch is incredibly small. So the menus were quite difficult to read compared to the Apple Watch. Like in apps such as Maps, you can see so much more detail on the Apple Watch compared to the Pixel Watch. Although Harry was saying that coming from his Galaxy Watch 4, the difference in screen size was not really noticeable since they both have pretty much the same screen size. Also, this display is very bright. So it maxes out at 1000 nits, which is the same as the Apple Watch. And I actually went to York over the weekend with Zaria from ZONEofTECH here, and it was so bright in York, and I could see the display perfectly fine. Okay, now I also want to talk about the fluidity. So the Pixel Watch has been mostly fluid, but sometimes it does lag. And when it does, the lag is quite severe. Here's a quick comparison against the Apple Watch in terms of opening up the app drawer speed. As you can see, there's a huge difference in speed and also fluidity. Also, fun fact, the Pixel Watch is actually using the Exynos 9110, which is the same one as Samsung was using in the Galaxy Watch 3. So this is an older chip. It does, however, have 2GB of RAM, which is more than most Android smartwatches. So I do hope that Google does release an update to hopefully improve the performance, as right now it is a bit laggy for me. Now I want to talk about the haptics. So the haptics on the Pixel Watch are pretty good. You also get haptics on the crown, so you can actually feel feedback when you're scrolling through your items and notifications and so on. It is actually very similar to how they work on the Apple Watch, and in terms of the quality, the Apple Watch is still a bit stronger in terms of haptics. So yeah, pretty good overall, but I was expecting to see a bit more. Just like on the Pixel phones, where Google's simply using haptics everywhere, I was expecting to see the same from the Pixel Watch. So what about the watch faces? Well, the selection is pretty good. I think most of the designs are quite clean, so I do actually like them, and there's plenty to choose from. So like I said, the selection is great, and a lot of them are similar to the ones that Apple offers. The Beer Sport watch face is actually very similar to the Nike one on the Apple Watch. And just like on the Apple Watch, there is plenty of customization that you can apply to these watch faces. So for example, you can change the color. You can also change the styles. So each watch face has a couple of styles. And then on top of that, you can also change the complications with a couple of them to choose from. Of course, on top of that, you can also add third-party watch faces. And the good news here is that on Samsung watches, some of these third-party watch faces are broken. They don't actually work that well. But on the Pixel Watch, they all do. So you also get an even higher selection of watch faces because of that. Oh, and by the way, this is my favorite Pixel watch face. It's called Concentric, and you can see the seconds go by. Yeah, really cool. Now, I also want to mention a few things regarding charging. So apparently, you can use your Apple Watch charger to charge your Pixel Watch, which was really interesting. I was not expecting that, since that Apple Watch charger is a proprietary charger for the Apple Watch alone. And on top of that, you can also use your Galaxy Watch charger for the Pixel Watch as well. Plus, it also supports reverse wireless charging. So if you have a Pixel or a Samsung or any phone that supports it, you'll be able to charge it like that. So yeah, the interesting thing here is that the Galaxy Watch 4 and the Apple Watch do not work with a Pixel Watch charger, but a Pixel Watch does work with the Galaxy Watch 4 and the Apple Watch charger. Now, in terms of the battery life, for me, the Pixel Watch was almost identical to my Apple Watch. I've actually used both on both my wrists when I went to York. And as you can see now, the Pixel Watch is at 57%, while the Apple Watch is at 55%, and that's pretty much what I've experienced during my trip as well. About a 2% difference between the two in favor of the Apple Watch. I also used sleep tracking on both, and I was able to get about 1.5 days with both of these watches. Now, you do need to keep in mind that this is the larger version of the Apple Watch, the 45mm. If you get a 41mm version, which would be the same size as the Pixel Watch, that should last about the same as the Pixel Watch, or maybe slightly worse. Now, I want to talk about the bands. So yeah, they're not great, mostly because they're proprietary. So what this means is that you have to buy bands specifically made for the Pixel Watch, unlike pretty much any other Android smartwatch that works with any number of universal watch bands. So the main downside is that you have a very limited selection of bands to pick from. So Google only sells about 4 designs, and yeah, the colors are not that great, and the clasp doesn't really match with the color of the watch, so that's also quite limiting. Now, the good news is that some bands have started appearing on Amazon, some third-party options, which is great, and the pricing seems to be pretty low as well. And Google will also be releasing more bands. They have these metal bands, which are coming in 2023. However, the pricing is pretty insane, £200 for the Metal Link band. That's more than half the price of the watch. So yeah, Google's taking a very similar mentality to Apple in terms of the extreme pricing of their bands. And like I said, because of this proprietary mechanism, the Pixel Watch actually has the fewest number of bands available on the market for any smartwatch. The Apple Watch also has a proprietary system, but they have just so many bands, and there's so many third-party options there as well. Oh, and I also found the mounting mechanism to be very strange. So to remove one of the bands, you need to press on this button right here. So you press it and then you slide the band out. And then you would assume that to connect it again, you would have to just align it with the middle, but it doesn't actually work that way. So you have to press it on that button and then slide it to the left until it clicks. So it's a very weird system. It's not very intuitive. Okay, now I want to talk about health tracking. So most of the functionality is the same as on the Apple Watch. You even have an ECG meter, which works very similar to how it does on the Apple Watch itself, including the results. You just hold your finger on the digital crown, and then you would get the reading. The only odd thing that I found about it is that the oxygen level meter doesn't quite work. So it is there, it does have the functionality, but I couldn't really find it anywhere in the software. So there's no option to actually measure your oxygen in your blood, and it's not even gonna do it automatically. So maybe this is gonna come with a future software update, but at the moment it simply doesn't work. But what I really loved about it though was the Fitbit app. So you don't actually use the Google Fit app, you simply use the Fitbit, which is quite interesting. But what's really cool about it is that it literally explains what heart rate zones are, and it even shows you which ones are for fat burning. And it does all of that automatically. So when I went to that trip last weekend, I didn't even start a workout. It was measuring everything automatically. This is so much better than on the Apple Watch, where it does tell you the heart rate zones, but it doesn't really explain what they are and what they actually mean. Now, I do want to mention a couple of specific things that Harry found in his usage. So he was saying that the wrist gestures were awesome on the Wear OS 2. They were removed from the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4, and sadly, we do not have them here either. And in terms of navigating, this is actually very similar to Wear OS 2, where you swipe down for your controls, you swipe up for your notifications, and then you also have some panels, some tiles that you can customize if you swipe to the right or the left-hand side. Unfortunately, you still cannot see WhatsApp and Messenger photo notifications. Oh, and sadly, you cannot have any button shortcuts assigned to these two buttons. So you only have the assistant and the wallet, and that's pretty much it. By the way, the secondary button is a bit tricky to press as it is almost flush with the body of the watch. So overall, I do really like the Pixel Watch. I think it's one of the best Android smartwatches that I've ever used, probably the best, to be honest. It doesn't really compare to the Apple Watch, as in if you have an iPhone, you need to get an Apple Watch. If you have, of course, a Pixel or any Android phone, then you cannot get an Apple Watch and you can only get this, which doesn't work with an iPhone. But if you do have an Android phone, I think this is an awesome option, especially if you plan on getting a Pixel 7 Pro, since you do actually get the Pixel Watch for free when you pre-order the Pixel 7 Pro. But yeah, let me know, what do you guys think? I'm Daniel, this is ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.